Hello, it's Elena, your favorite college counselor with Bright Futures, and today I'm going to walk you through the Common App. This is one of the most commonly used college applications in the nation, so many of you will be using this application during your college application process. I'm saying the word application a lot, aren't I? Well, it's not the last time you're going to hear it, unfortunately. So keep watching and follow along as you fill out the main sections of your Common App. The first thing you'll want to do is go to commonapp.org. You'll see up in the little address bar at the top of the screen, the website. It's commonapp.org. Once you are on this page, this is what the home page should look like. For those of you who have not started an account, you will click Create an Account over here on the top right. Once you have clicked Create an Account, this is what will come on your screen. For most of you, you are going to be clicking First Year Student, meaning this is your first year that you will be entering college. Even if you already have, dual credits from any courses or college credits potentially from AP exams, that's okay. You're still going to be a first year student because you have never actually attended a college on a full-time basis. Once you have clicked on that, you should come to this webpage, which is going to ask you to create your account. Go ahead and enter your email address, and I would recommend that you choose an email address that's not going to raise any eyebrows because college admissions officers will see your email address, so you don't want something in there like, collegeislame@gmail.com or something like that. That might send the wrong message. So choose an email that you check regularly and will remember. So if you need to, you can create a free email through like gmail.com or something like that. You can use your school email, but I would caution you that with school emails, sometimes communications from colleges tend to go into spam or junk mail. So I would really recommend using an email specifically for college application purposes. Once you've done that, you'll pick a password. You'll retype the password. You are going to have to pick one that has all the, characters and things like that. Enter your name and make sure it is the name that matches school records. So for those of you that maybe have a hyphenated last name like Smith-Johnson or something, make sure that both the school record has the hyphenation and this one has the hyphenation. You want a college to be able to match records from the school with your college application. So make sure everything's the same. Phone number, date of birth, address. For those of you maybe with a separate mailing address than a physical address, go ahead and enter your mailing address, or otherwise known as your permanent address. Most of you are going to be starting college in 2022. If you're a rising senior currently, then you will be graduating spring of 2022 and starting college in fall of 2022. And then you'll check these off. And then once you do, you can click Create Account. And that will take you to this screen. You'll see I have the name there, Holly. That's just a name I chose for my kind of fake student account, so I can walk you guys through this. Don't worry, I haven't changed my name. It's still Elena. So right here, this middle tab, go ahead and click that. And now we're at the Common App, and we're going to talk about the different sections in the Common App and how you should fill out each one. The first section we're going to talk about is the Profile section of the Common App. So you'll see when I click Profile on the left, some drop downs will appear, different categories, talking about your name and some address details, family details, things like that. So I'm going to walk through the sections. First, you're going to enter your name, and again, this should be one that matches school records. Then once you've done that, and again, preferred nickname, you absolutely can put a nickname. If your name is Leanne and you go by Lee, you can put that. Again, a college will look at this, and it's often how they will choose to address you in communications. So have you ever used any other names? Again, some of you, for whatever reason, might have had a name change. And so if you have had a name change, first name, last name, anything like that, push yes. And if you do, it will, of course, ask you for your former name. and then you will fill out the rest of the information here. It does offer you an option to share more about your gender identity, and then you will enter your date of birth. Once you've done that, you will click continue. It's going to ask for your home address and your mailing address. So if you have the same address for everything, you would put no alternate address. If for whatever reason you are displaced or living somewhere else, and you're going to move back home, or would just rather have a different mailing address as opposed to your permanent address, you would just click that, and then you would add in the address and let them know if it's temporary or not, and assume temporary means through the rest of high school. Then you'll push continue. This is contact details. Yes, you should put in your phone number. You do not have to put in a separate number. However, colleges, again, they sometimes like to have your number because they will send reminders to that number, like text messages and things like that. For demographics, you will see that a lot of these don't have like an asterisk or anything, and so some of them are not required. But again, you are welcome to choose things like religious preference or any of these questions. You will click yes once you have completed it and continue. Geography, so more of these types of details. For number of years, again, if you're 17, put 17 if you were born here. If you moved here, through some time in your childhood, just put the number of years you've lived here. If maybe you lived your first 5 years of life in the United States, moved to a different country for 3 years, and then came back when you were 8 or 9, just add up the years you lived in the United States, because the next question is how many years did you live outside the United States? And that's where you would put 3 years if that were in fact true. Once you have done that, number of languages you are proficient in. So if I was proficient in more than just English, I would push 2. I can select the language, and then it does ask you to what level of proficiency. And so if English was your first language, again, you can put first language. If you learn both growing up, you can put a secondary language and also put that it was your first language. You can select all of these. So some of you may know how to speak, read, but not necessarily write a particular language or anything like that. So fill these out as necessary. You can put in as many languages as you need to, or well, I guess it only gives you up to 5, but I don't think I know anybody who knows more than 5 languages that I'm working with. So I'm not going to worry about that just now. Then you'll push continue. It is going to ask you about your citizenship. So for those of you who, again, are a citizen, you would click that. Anyone who is a permanent resident or is maybe applied for their citizenship but has not yet received it, even if you've applied, if you've not yet been approved, you would go ahead and choose the other option that is true. And then you can enter your social security number, and again, any other citizenships if you are dual citizenship. It will give you the option to upload your green card and enter any other information you might need to, again, if you are not a U.S. citizen. So once you have done that, click continue. The fee waiver typically is for students who their family might be at a certain income level where they do qualify for a fee waiver. Usually if you're on reduced lunch or free lunch at your school or anything like that, you might qualify for one. In that case, you would click yes. But if you have never qualified for those things, typically you're not going to qualify for a fee waiver. And since we don't currently have any natural disasters happening like in the years of Harvey, Hurricane Harvey and all that, you would click no. So once you have done that, you click continue, and it will lead you to the next section. The next section in the Common App we're going to talk about is the family section. So this is the next section of the Common App. It's the family section. The first question you're asked is your parents' marital status. If you are unsure, ask them. It does offer you various options. And when it says, with whom do you make your permanent home? Again, if you have a certain custody schedule with parents where you are, living with one more than the other, the one you're living more often with, or the majority of the time, that is typically your permanent home, or where your school bases your residency off of. That is your permanent home. Again, this is a good question to ask your parents if you are unsure, but if you live with both parents, then you would just click both parents. If you are living with a grandparent currently, or another family member or something like that, you can click other. It will give you an opportunity to enter your circumstances. Most of you are not going to have any children, so you can just click no. And once you are done filling all this out, you would click continue. The next section, of course, is to fill out more information about your family. So again, if you do have some circumstances where you're not in contact with a parent, you do have the option to click I have limited information about this parent. You'll fill out their information here for each parent. It is going to ask you things like their occupation. If you are unsure of their occupation, it's okay. A lot of students are. Feel free to ask them, and they will tell you. There's probably going to be some generic job titles here, but they can tell you what the best fit is. You can click their education level. Some of you may have had parents that went to, let's say, a community college or trade school and maybe didn't complete a 4-year degree. In that case, you can click some college or university. Some of you will have, parents that have different education levels. So go ahead and click what is accurate. For number of institutions attended, that means colleges. So it doesn't mean their high school or elementary school. It means how many colleges did they attend. And so if they attended, let's say 2, that they got a degree from, maybe they have a bachelor's from one and a master's from another, you can go ahead and enter that information here. You can look up the college for those of you who have parents that went to school outside of the country. They do have many international schools listed, but if for some reason you cannot find the college, then you can type in the college name. So you'll click continue. Same kind of thing for parent 2. And again, you do have the option of putting I do not have another parent to list if you do not. And click continue, and then they're going to ask you about your siblings. So I have 2, so I'll go ahead and put 2. Here's where you would fill out your sibling information. They are going to ask, again, things like age, is it your brother or sister, their education level. If they're younger than you, then, you'll say some high school or maybe grade school. If they're older than you, then some of them might be in college or things like that. And so if they are not in college, but they did graduate high school, then you would just put graduated from high school. So you'll fill this out. Some of you might wonder if you are supposed to list step siblings or half siblings. And so the answer to that is if they are part of your home, one way or the other, yes, you would enter them. Now, if they are let's say a step sibling that lives with, their parent and they don't live with you at all, they're not a part of your household, you would not enter their information. But if they are a sibling that lives with you some of the time or anything like that, or your parents claim them on their taxes, ask your parent this information, you would list them, again, as brother or sister, even if it is like a, say, stepbrother or a half-sister or something like that. And then you'll click continue. And that brings us to education. The next section we're going to talk about in the Common App is the education section. The next section is the education section. So I went ahead and put in my high school. They will have a search option that you can search for your high school in. If you are homeschooled, they will also have that option, and they will have an option where if you do not see your high school listed, you can select that as well. Once you have put in your high school, you will choose date of entry. For those of you who are graduating year 2022, so in spring of 2022, most of you will have entered high school into August, as of August 2018, August or September, depending on where you live. But for those of you in the southern states, that's typically August. So you will choose August 2018. Now, if you did not go straight from, let's say, junior high to this particular high school, if you, for some reason, started at one high school, maybe for 9th grade, and transferred at some point, then you will choose the date of entry for this high school you are currently in. So if you started August of your sophomore year, you would put August 2019, not August 2018. Then you'll answer if it's a boarding school or not. Will you graduate from this school? Again, if you are transferring or something, then you will put in an exit date, things like that. And so, again, most of you are not going to be transferring during your senior year. But if you are, it does give you the option to fill that out. So if you will graduate from the high school senior year, you would click yes. For most of you, your graduation date will be May or June of 2022. All right, now for these options, for those of you that did graduate early, let's say you're graduating December of 2021, meaning you're graduating a semester early, you can put that option. If you are extending your graduation or your senior year for whatever reason, maybe you need to complete credits, then you will say late, time off, or a gap year. Again, if there was any kind of time off you took due to physical or mental health reasons or anything like that, you will note that here. Many of you will just click no change in progression, meaning you were enrolled in high school, freshman, August 2018, is that what I said, 2018, all the way through currently. You haven't taken any extended breaks from school or anything like that. You'll put no change in progression. But if you choose anything else, then you can put in the details here. Again, for those of you who maybe took a semester off because you're homeschooled or you took a gap year, anything like that, you will put the details here. Then you'll click continue. So again, this is if you attended any other high school. You will note that here. It will give you the option to find the other high school. And if you moved or there was just a particular reason for transfer, again, you can put the details in here. Then you'll click continue. All right, colleges and universities. So this is if you've ever taken coursework through a college or university while you've been in high school. So if you have, and for many of you that will look like dual credit, they do have a dual enrollment option here. You can check your transcript or ask your school counselor if you are unsure who your dual credit is paired with in terms of a college. It's normally a community college in the area. For Houston, that might be Lone Star or San Jacinto, different community colleges like that. And so you will click that. You'll find the college. The reason for this is because if you are taking a dual credit course, the college you are applying to for your bachelor's degree does need to get the transcript from the college you took the dual credit course through. So they need to know, that information is coming from them. You can't just submit your high school transcript. If you want the college credit, you have to include the transcript from the community college as well for your dual credit classes. So you can click that, or if you took any summer programs or attended courses at that community college just separately from high school, but it was still during your high school years, you would click that here. For example, when I was in my senior year, I was taking courses at a community college, but they were not dual credit. I was just enrolled into the community college as a high school student, taking those classes for college credit, but my high school didn't count them. So I would, in that case, click credit awarded directly by college. So you'll list the colleges. AP credits do not count for this section. So if you just have AP credits, this is not for you just yet. So you'll click continue. Most of you will have not earned a degree, but some of you are in early college high schools. And so in that case, if you are awarded an associate's degree, you would just click the Associate of Arts or Associate of Science, whichever one you earned, and then click continue. Now this is just made up information. For those of you who have access to a transcript, you probably have an estimated class size listed on there. So go ahead and put your graduating class size in. Now ranking. Some of you will know your exact rank. All this stuff, decile, quintile, quartile, basically that's if your school tells you you're in the top 10%, top 20%, that's decile. Quintile would be top 20%, top 40%, top 60%, so it's counting by 20s. Quartile, are you in the top quarter? Are you in the top 25%, top 50%, top 75%? So if they only give you that top quote percent information, you're going to click probably one of these. If they tell you you are top 9% or top 18%, or you are number 43 out of 500, that is going to be exact. They are giving you your exact rank. Again, for many of you, your school may only report the top 10% of your class. And so if you are not in the top 10%, then you will click none if you do not know where you rank after that if you're not in the top 10. For GPA scale reporting, some of you, it is out of a 4.0. For others, I know particular high schools grade out of a 8.0, and so you'll just pick what scale they do that on and your GPA. Now, some of you, again, let's say they do it on an 8.0 scale and you have a 7.1. That would be weighted. Unweighted is typically out of a 4.0 scale. So if you see two numbers, two GPAs on your transcript, maybe one says 7.1 out of 8, that's weighted. But then you see 3.6 out of 4, that's unweighted. So you can put either one in here. College will automatically unweight your transcript. However, if you can go ahead and give them that information, that's usually helpful. But many times you only know your weighted score. You won't be penalized regardless of what you put if you put one and not the other. So don't be afraid to choose which one to put in there. I would just recommend unweighted if you have it. So you click continue. Then it will ask you about your current or most recent year courses. Most recent year would mean maybe you graduated and took a gap year and now you're enrolling into college. Then you would be talking about your senior year courses. For those of you in senior year, then yes, they're asking about the courses you are taking or going to take this academic year. So how many courses would you like to report? Remember, something like English 4 is one course. It goes all year. But then you have, PE, maybe one semester, and health another semester. Those are each a course. Even though they both happen during, let's say, 6th period, they're each a course. So count out the number of courses you will be taking. And then most schools are going to use semesters. But again, if your school uses trimester or a quarter, trust me, if they don't use a semester, you will likely be very aware of it. So again, most of you will be on a semester basis. Click semester, and then you will start entering your course titles. So this is for senior year. So you will type in your course title. You can copy off your transcript if you need to, but often transcripts have kind of like a code. So pre-AP, pre-calculus may look like and that might be a code that is unique to your school. So I would recommend just typing out the course name and instead just putting, pre-calculus AP or pre-AP. And then you'll be asked to choose the level. So again, some of you have taken like a pre-AP course, but if you don't see it listed, which they do not list pre-AP, then you can click honors, and that usually satisfies the pre-AP kind of level. However, I would recommend that you ask either your Bright Futures counselor or your school counselor, if you have a school college counselor, kind of what the best suggestion from them might be. So for those of you in IB, they do have that. So they have dual enrollment, which is also often called dual credit. So you can put that, and you can clarify whether it's a full year or a first semester or second semester course. And then you would just enter that for every single class period or course you will take during your senior year. Once you have done that, you can continue. And so if you do have honors, academic honors that you want to report, this is where you would do that. Now, we do this with our students, and we will discuss this either in workshops or one-on-one meetings. But for those of you that maybe are watching this and do not have a counselor you are working with one-on-one, I'll give you a little bit of insight here. So honors related to academic achievements, that can be related to electives. Let's say you won an art award and you were enrolled in art and you won the school, photography contest or something. You can absolutely put that here. For those of you in any honor societies, I put spelling bee champion. I was almost a spelling bee champion in 3rd grade, and I lost on the word avocado. And that's a really triggering word for me these days. But if I had been a spelling bee champion, I would put it here, what grade I achieved that in. If it's the summer after a particular year, so let's say I did the spelling bee summer after 9th grade, I would actually put 10th grade because I'm done with 9th grade. I'm now officially a 10th grader. So level of recognition, if it was a school competition, school. If it's National Honor Society, national. If you went to state for debate, you can put state. It does only give you up to 5, so be wise in what you list. If you're in multiple honor societies, consider listing them in one row. So maybe you can use those spaces for other awards or honors. And so once you've done that, click continue. For most of you, the answer to this will be 0. For community programs, this is college application assistance through a community program, meaning it's usually free and offered by a school or a nonprofit organization. So if you're working with like your school college counselor or you're working with a Bright Futures counselor, it's going to be 0. But for those of you who are working with a special program like One Goal or something, then you would click 1, and then you'll be asked to list it. Future plans. This is more for data. Don't stress too much about this. If you have a particular career interest, you can put that here. Highest degree you intend to earn. Again, this is just what do you plan to do. You won't be held to this. You're not going to be penalized if, down the road you don't end up going for your PhD even though you thought you would one day. It's okay. Just go ahead and put, ideally what you would like to do and how far in school you intend to go. The next section of the Common App we will be discussing is testing. So this is in regards to testing. So for testing, This says, do you, in addition to sending official score reports as required by colleges, do you want to self-report scores or future test dates? So basically they're giving you an option here to say, hey, instead of us waiting for your score reports to come in, you are welcome to report them here. And then they can sometimes make preliminary decisions and wait for the official results to come in to affirm what you've already said. But this is for like the preliminary decision type of stuff. So I would recommend, yes, you do go ahead and self-report or let them know about future test dates if in fact you are including test scores. Again, for those, we'll talk a little bit about those of you who might be applying test optional. But this includes ACT, AP exams, SATs, things like that. So I'm going to say yes. So I'm going to pretend I'm submitting an ACT score and an AP subject test. For international applicants, again, most of you who are studying in the US are going to answer no, or you don't have to answer it at all. For those of you who are international applicants, this is definitely something to ask your counselor about. So if I have one ACT score I want to submit, then I would say, 1, and then I'd let them know, did I take the writing test portion of it? Do I expect to sit for any future tests? Now, I will say that if you are sitting for a future test and you put this in here, when you hit submit to a school, they are going to expect you to submit that score. They won't penalize you if it's lower than your current score. They'll take the highest score still, even if you give them 2 or 3 test scores, they're just going to take the highest one. But they may hold your application until they receive that future score because you said you'd be sitting for another one. So if you do click yes, I am sitting for another one, you would put in the test date. And again, they may hold your application until they get that test score. So if you're not sure whether what you should put here, this is definitely something you should talk to your counselor about. Then you will enter your highest composite score. Again, these are scores that you have already taken or tests you have already taken. So you'll enter the score here when you took the test. And then it will just continue to ask you for the test scores of any other exam you put. So if I put AP subject tests, AP exams, I would put that here. And this includes tests you will take. So if you've taken 2 AP exams, maybe in junior year, and you plan on taking 3 more at the end of senior year, you would put 5. And then you can put the various dates. So again, most of you will be testing or will test in, say, 2022. It hasn't switched over yet on the Common App. That will happen August 1st, but you'll see a 2022 option. You'll select the subject for the various exams, what its score you got, and again, it will just keep asking you to list this exam by exam. So you would put your history exam info here, your Spanish exam, your chemistry exam, so on and so forth. You do not have to list your AP exams. So let's say you got a 2 on a certain exam. You do not have to actually list that exam. You don't have to submit that score. You don't have to, because you likely won't get college credit for it anyway if it's not above a 3. So there is some strategy sometimes to this. So again, go ahead and ask your Bright Futures counselor if you're unsure, but just know you're not penalized if you don't list particular exams. Same goes for test scores. If you are applying test optional, you do not have to submit a score. So when I click continue, then it takes me to activities, which we'll talk about in just a second. Listing your activities on the Common App can be, it's a very detailed process, so it can be a little tedious. There's also a lot of strategy involved in listing your activities on the Common App. And so rather than guide you through it after you've already watched this long video. Instead, I'm going to make another video with some tips and guidance on implementing or putting in your activities on the Common App. And for those of you who are enrolled into our application workshops, this is a big part of what we go over in those workshops. Plus, you'll be able to talk one-on-one with your counselor about the best strategy in terms of describing and listing your activities. But stay tuned for the next video that, again, will have some tips and guidance on it. Otherwise, I want to congratulate you for making it through and for getting your Common App somewhat filled out. You are on your way, and I am so proud of you.